Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namo.
How would you know if we start talking about old village temples and how we worshipped and how we went and what kind of food we ate and all that? You think the culture of a people is confined to the temples that they build or the universities or the cement and the stone blocks, buildings that they build? Culture is the people, how they practice it. So I thought we should start something based on the temple, how the temple is running, so that the young people, whether they are from Sri Lanka or India or Singapore or Holland or Denmark, doesn't matter. They should have an exposure to this thing and understand why. And what is the symbol of a Saivite? The vibhuti, isn't it? So I called it VSI, Vibhuti Saivite Immersion. And it was started to teach kids like you the culture, the ups and downs of how it is and what the worship is like, how they dress, how they ate.
Purne sada purne Shankara prana vallabhe Jnana vairagya siddhyatam Nisha Devi cha Parvati.
How they sang. And Vibhuti also means the grace that comes from a deity.
Shrimatre Namaha. Namaskaram everyone and welcome back to our Sacred Rites and Rituals of Sanatana Dharma Learning Series, which is a joint presentation by the Sri Vidya Temple Society of Rochester, New York, USA and Ashtanga Yoga Mandir of Sri Lanka. These lectures are conducted by Sri Chaitanyanandanada, affectionately known as Ayya. Ayya is the founder and Peethadipati of the Sri Vidya Temple. Both Ayya and Amma, Srimati Nyanamba, have dedicated their lives to the noble mission of preserving and spreading the knowledge of Devi worship and rich traditions of Saiva Bhakti. Vibhuti Saivite Immersion, also known as VSI, is a 1-week-long overnight program conducted by the Sri Vidya Temple Society on the temple premises for kids ages 10 to 18. This program began back in 2004, and since then, this program continues to grow as it is a platform for younger learners in our community to experience an engaging and immersive learning program for children from all around the world. This program is for those who are interested in learning more about our rich traditions. Through inspirational and educational classes by Aya, presentations from guest speakers, and sessions with the counselors, each child is encouraged to find his or her own personal connection with Saiva culture and devotion in a fun-filled setting. Spots are limited. If you are interested in registering your child for the camper program for children ages 10 to 15, the registration opens this Thursday, April 14th at 8 p.m. ET. There are a few upcoming temple festival and events taking place at our temple. On Thursday, April 14th, the temple will be celebrating Mesha Shankaranti beginning at 6:30 a.m. to commence the new year. On Saturday, April 16th, the temple will be observing Chitra Parnami in honor of the departed maternal ancestors. Group Shraddha Tarpanam will be performed at the temple. If you would like to perform the Tarpanam at the temple, please be sure to visit our website for more information. On Sunday, April 17th, the Sri Vidya Temple will be performing a Maha Prityangira Homam at the start of the Tamil New Year to bless all the devotees with divine protection. Everyone who attends will have the chance to offer something directly into the sacred Homa fire. For updates on upcoming festivals and events, please subscribe to our email list. For those interested in viewing content shared during these sessions, please note that all content being discussed in these sessions will be posted after the conclusion in the respective topic on our webpage. Please use the question form to share any questions you might have pertaining to the content discussed. For those viewing our live stream, our question form can also be found on our webpage, which is srividya.org/AYM-lectures. At this time, we will hand it over to Aya to begin today's session.
Om Hamsa Siva Soham Hamsaha Hasaka Frame Hasakshamalavarayum Hasaum Sahakshamalavarayim Sahau Swarupani Hetave Swagurave Sri Annapurneshwari Amba Sameda Sri Lastri Amrutanandanada Saraswati Mahapattaraka Mama Sri Guru Sri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha. My humble pranams to my esteemed Sri Guru, Sri Lastri Amrutanandanada Saraswati, in the company of his consort, Srimati Annapurneshwari Amba. I prostrate before him and implore that he sit on my open, heart and speak through me. My open heart lotus and speak through me. We will be continuing the Panchavimsadi Shivamurtams that we have been discussing. And because we have fallen way behind in showing some of the slides, as I used to get distracted with stories, we will continue the same. We were looking at Dakshina Murthy the last time and discovered that there are many forms, 64 forms of the Dakshina Murthy. These are the 25 forms of Shiva. You will see Dakshina Murthy is the 10th. Now, if we can go to the slides for the Dakshina Murthy, there are various forms in different asanams. I won't waste your time by reading all 64 names, but there are some interesting forms here. Yoga Dakshina Murthy is sometimes depicted in this asanam, and Veda Jnana Vyakyana Dakshina Murthy is shown in this asanam. So for the different forms of Dakshina Murthy, there are different asanas. Most of the forms have 4 hands, And Veda Jnana Vyakyana Dakshinamurti, if you notice, holds a japamala in his upper right hand, and the Varada Mudra is there in the left hand, and a lotus is there on the right hand, and Chinmudra, the right hand, the lotus is there on the upper left hand, and Chinmudra in the front right hand. Now, again, you will see the Jadabharam, and the decorations, I guess, are given in the various textual sources like Kamika Puranam, Kamika, the Uttara Kamikam and Dakshina Kamikam, Purva Kamikam. So sometimes you will find descriptions in the Linga Puranam also. Can we go to the next one? Sometimes this Veda Jnana Vyakyana Dakshinamurti and Yoga Dakshinamurti are shown in different asanas. So let's go to the next slide. Now, the one that you see on your left side, Sri Guru Bhagavan, Alankudi Dakshinamurti. I have been to this temple, and I can sincerely recommend that if you get a chance, even if you don't go to see any other thing, go here and look at the Dakshinamurti on the Koshtam. He is always decorated like this, and he is covered in vibhuti, in the ash. And if you look at his face, you will feel like sitting and going into meditation. Now, this Tiruvalangudi Dakshinamurti, for people in whose Jatakam, that is, in whose astrological chart, if you believe in astrology, let me tell you that Jodisham is described as Veda Angam, one of the limbs of the Vedas. So whether you believe in it or not, it's part of the Vedic corpus. For those people who have Guru Dosham, that means in their horoscope, if Guru, Jupiter, is in the 8th house, for instance, 8, 4, 6, 8, and 12 are described as being eclipsed, Maravusthana. That means even a good planet, an extremely good planet like Jupiter, the effect will be muted. Ashtama Vyalan, that is 8th house, Jupiter. Janmat Vyalan, if he is in your Janmam, that is in your ascendant when you are born, or in your Rasi, the house where your moon is, if he is there, there can be various combinations depending on what planets are aspecting him and all that. So in all these cases, if you go to Tiruvalangudi and perform an Archana or an Abhishekam or offer him Naivedyam, the Naivedyam for Tiruvalangudi Dakshinamurti is chickpeas. And the color of clothing that he wears most of the time is yellow. And if you offer this and sit in front of him and chant either Adi Shankaracharya's Dakshinamurti Stotram or Ashtotra Sadanamavali, and in the absence of you knowing anything else, if you can chant Shiva Ashtotram, it will be very beneficial. and I am speaking from experience. If you go there and if you sit in front of him, there's always a massive crowd pushing and jostling to get a good look at him. You get to a place where you can just see him and sit down with your eyes closed. The effect is almost instantaneous. So many centuries of pujas must have been done to this Murthy. It is really vibrating if you go there. Now, Dakshinamurti temples in India, Arulmigu, Sri Rajarajeswari Tirukkovil Alangudi, Guru Bhagavan Tiruvarur. If you go there, that's the temple that is there. Next slide, please. There's one more with the Alangudi Dakshinamurti, the one before. No, the one before. The slide. Yeah, here. Now you see Jnana Dakshinamurti. If you see the Jnana Dakshinamurti here, he is in Sukhasanam. And if you notice, in the back left hand, he has fire. And in the front left hand, he has the Vedas. And the front right hand is in Chinmudra. If you remember, we talked about the Chinmudra as being applied pressure with your forefinger on the middle part of the thumb. And sometimes when you see people in meditation, pictures of rishis and others in meditation, they will show this. Very often they'll make the mistake and show with the index finger touching the top part of the thumb. That won't do anything for you. If you get up in the morning, let us say 3:30 in the morning, and you want to sit in meditation, and it's the height of winter, and the temptation is for you to pull the blanket around you and go to sleep, you won't be able to fall asleep if you do the Chin Mudra properly. So the Chin Mudra is there, and the upper right hand, it shows the snake. The snake symbolizes the Kundalini. So it never leaves Shiva. Okay. Next one, please. Now here, you will see Jnana Yoga Dakshinamurti. And you will see Nandi and the four rishis and the elephant and the lion and the deer. All of them are out of him. And the snake is around his thigh. And in the back hand, there is a different mudra. And Abhaya mudra is there, and you can see the Chin mudra is drawn. And the Chin mudra that is drawn there, I think it is the artist's choice, because the way it should be depicted is not there. And on the top hand, he should have a japamala. And you can see in all of these, the depictions, the Jatavaram is shown. And he is seated in an asanam very similar to the Sabarimala deity that you see. Now, on the right hand side is Jatavara Srishti Dakshinamurti. By looking at it, you know why here they are talking about the Jatavaram, because that's the dominating feature there. And the Japamala is there, Chinmutra is there, And Abhayahastam is there. Is there an Abhayahastam, or the snake is there in the hand? So he is described as wearing a snake as a Kanayali. What is a Kanayali? Kanayali is ring. The snake is supposed to be a ring, and it is depicted like that. And on his upper left hand, there is an Amrita Kalasam. So, Srishti Dakshina Murthy. Next one, please. Sukhasana Dakshina Murthy. This is a different depiction. You can see his left hand is resting on the Pitam. Right hand always will show the Chin Mudra. In the case of Dakshinamurti, upper right hand, the Ankusham is there, or the Parasu is there. It's called Mayupadai. Mayu means axe. And on the left hand, upper left hand, the deer is there. So he is Sukhasana Dakshinamurti. Different temples. Now, if you go to the Meenakshi temple in Madurai, you will see a beautiful statue of this Sukhasana Dakshinamurti in the museum. On the right hand side, Dakshinamurti is a youthful form of Lord Shiva as the silent teacher. He is the consort of the youthful Sundari, the third of the 10 wisdom goddesses. Now, I bet most people do not realize this, but he is the Lord of Tripura Sundari. And if Tripura Sundari's Lord is Dakshinamurti, he must be one and the same as what? Kameshwara is the same as Kameshwara. And here too, you will see the cobra on one side, and the upper left hand holds the Trisulam, and the lower left hand holds the Vedas, and the Chinmudra are there. Next slide, please. Now, Veenadhara Dakshinamurti, he is also called Veena Dakshinamurti. Now, interesting. The Vedas are now in the upper left hand, and the right hand holds the fire. And he has the Veena slung with him. That means he can be worshipped with music. It is said that if you sit and worship him and sing particular compositions in the Raga Kamboji in front of Veena Dakshinamurti for a time period, a stipulated time period of 21 days or 41 days, you're supposed to attain mastery in music. Whichever form of music you want, you're supposed to be able to get. But if you notice that all these forms of Shiva that we have been looking at up to this time, they allude to the fact that the primordial form of God is from where every branch of knowledge has come out. So you will notice that he is the one who gave the wealth to Kubera, the wealth to Mahalakshmi, gave the chakra to Mahavishnu, right? And so on and so forth. And you see that even every branch of knowledge, see, since he has the Vedas in his upper left hand, that also depicts the knowledge that all the Vidyas that are there. And the 4 rishis are there. If you notice, Sukha is shown here. Sukar, the one who is the parrot-faced one, is also in front of him. So this Veena Dakshinamurti is also called Veenadhara Dakshinamurti. Veena Dakshinamurti is also in the, he is in Chidambaram, and he is also in the Meenakshi temple. The next one is Shakti Dakshinamurti. Very unusual. Looks very much like the Jnana Dakshinamurti, Vyakyayana Dakshinamurti with the Jadas. You will see the Jadabharam. And you will also see the Devi seated on his left lap. Vamanga Nilaya. Right? Kameshwaranga Pariyanga Vaivesharam Kalpayami Namaha. This is the form. And the upper left hand holds the Amrita Kalasam and the Japamala. And the left hand is performing what is called Alinganam. For those people who are familiar with performing Sri Chakra Puja, when we do the Nyasams, there is a particular place where you do the Vajra Panjara Nyasam. The Devi is seated on his lap and she is turning towards him to embrace him. You can see it with the Bijaksharas. That's what's depicted here. Next one, please. Shakti Dakshinamurti. The form again is in Thiruvalanchuli. Veena Dakshinamurti, this is another form. No. Abhaya Varada Shatpuja Dakshinamurti. Aha. Look at the difference. He has 6 hands. He has 6 hands, and the Kundalini is on the upper left hand, and the middle hand holds the deer, and Bharata Hastam is there, Abhaya Hastam is there, no Chinmudra here, and the Japamala is here, and the Parasu is there. The Parasu, the Mayu, it is called, is used to cut all the attachments. Worldly attachments must go before you can realize Shiva inside you. So that is what that depicts. And he is in Sukhasanam here, and the rishis are around him. Veera Dakshinamurti. Veera Dakshinamurti, Asina Dakshinamurti. Now you will see, because the Veera Bhavam, Veera is depicted here, he holds a bow and an arrow in his hand, the front hand, and in the back, both hands, the deer is there. And I don't know what that is. Either that is an arrow or it is a bud of a lotus. It could be both. By the way, there's a form where a generalized version of the Dakshinamurti form is there, and each part is labeled. We'll come up with that. Next one. Now here is another form. Veena Dakshinamurti is shown here with the Veena, and here is depicted with the fire in the upper left hand, and the asanam is different. So I don't know whether it is a depiction of an artist's desire to show differences, or whether these are there in the agamas. Kamika agamas, Uttara Kamika agamas, it must be there. Yogamartha Dakshinamurti. became Kamadahana Dakshinamurti. Now, this is the form that was in deep meditation when the deities, all the divinities, beginning with Indra, when they did homam, they do a yajnam and they cut their limbs and start offering it into the fire. Just like Sibi Chakravarti, he also did the same. And the mother appeared. Mahatripura Sundari appeared. Chitakni Kunda Sampuda, she originated from there. Now, they have wanted to do Pattabhishekam for her, coronation ceremony. Coronation ceremony cannot be done if you are not married. So now, Swami is immersed in tapas for eons and eons and eons. This is the way he is seated. Look at the form, look at the asanam he is on. He is deeply immersed in dhyanam. So they approach Manmada and tell him, go shoot one of your arrows at him. So that when he opens his eyes, the Devi can be in front and he can fall in love with her. And when he fires the arrow, he knows that he is going to be destroyed. Because the jnana, the jnana netram of Shiva, the third eye opens and he becomes ashes. Now you can see Radhi depicted on your right hand side. This is just before he let fly the arrow. And Radhi is completely shattered because she cannot see. And the all-knowing Devi is compassionate. So what she does is, she pleads with Swami. He has been destroyed, Manmada, and because he cannot be seen, he is called Ananga. Nobody can see him. She gets a blessing from the Swami because of Radhi that she can see him. Nobody else can. So, although the Sahasranamam says Devakarya Samatyada, she came in to perform the tasks for the Devas, the poets repeatedly say that she came on the scene to protect Radhi's Mangalyam. The Mangalyam of Radhi, the Devi protected and gave. So this is just before Kamadahanam, this Dakshinamurti. This form is also there in Chidambaram. Next one. See, Veerasana, Veenadara, Vyakyayana Dakshinamurti. I think there are several forms brought together in one. If you look at the thing, the left hand, front hand holds the Veena, and the back hand holds the Vedas. The right hand holds the Japamala, and the front hand shows the Chinmuntra. And the four rishis, the famous ones, Sanandana, Chanaka, Sanandana, Sanat Kumara, and Sukha are there. Okay. Now, Yoga Dakshinamurti, this is another form. You see the band that is tying his front foot, left foot, across his body. That this form, this kind of an arrangement is used by people who sit in Yogasanam. When they sit for more than 2-3 hours in this posture, they do this. There's a particular name for that. I haven't come across it yet. And you will see in the back hand, the Damaru is there, which is the origin of all the languages. The 14 times the drum was played, all the languages, whatever that is to be discovered in the form of sound, has come from there. And the upper right hand, upper left hand has the fire. And the left hand is pointed downwards. Right? The grace flows from there. And of course, the Chinmutra is there in the right hand. Next one, please. Medha Dakshina Murthy. This is the mantra that we chanted. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshina Murthe Mahyam Medam Prajnam Prayacha Swaha. We talked about this before. This Medha Dakshina Murthy is there in the Sundareshwara Temple, Meenakshi Sundareshwara Temple in Madurai. And Veenadhara Dakshina Murthy, this is another form. You will see, please make a note of what he is holding in each hand. The fire is in the upper left hand, and he's playing the veena, of course, and the Japamala is there in the upper right hand. And the asana is very different. Next one. Sapta Jnana Upadesa Dakshina Murthy. If you see, there are more than 4 rishis in front of him. So the Sapta rishis, they were instructed in the medium of silence by him. Other than that, all the weapons and all the other instrumentations are the same. Next one, please. There you go. Now, if you look here, each of these murtis, forms, whatever the features are, correctly labeled. I will not bore you with going through each one of them. You can download this and take a look at it. This is the form. This form is from Silparatanam. All the forms, all the individual things are labeled. And this happens to be, the labels are all in Tamil. Muyalagan. Chilambu is anklet. Vyagra Charanam. Vyagra Charanam. Charamam. Charamam. Vyagra Charamam. Then Ullankal Padamarekai. Padmarekai. You can see the lotus form in the Ullankal is under your feet. There's a lotus there. Vastirakat and Padmaregai is there. This you have to download this and take a look at it. Each one is individually labeled. Okay, next one, please. Padmaregai, Chinmudirai, Bahumalai. All of these are in Tamil. Damarukam, Gangai, Makarakundalam, Stana Sutram, all of these forms of Shiva. Is this the end of this? Okay, the next Murti that we are going to take care of, look at is Bikshadana. Now, this is the one that we have, the figure that we have in the Panchavimsadi Murti Dhyanam, you will see that he is holding a Trisulam on his shoulders. He's holding it with both hands. He is always depicted with 4 hands and he is nude. And is depicted as a very pleasant-faced, smiling-faced, happy person. He's shown as a very happy Murti. And in his front right hand, he holds Durva, Arh, and the deer is following. So what he is doing is, the deer is the devotee's mind, which is restless always. He is showing it a little bit, he is giving a little bit of encouragement to it so that it will follow. This happens with the Devi a lot, or these deities. When you are very interested in doing the japam and the mantra japam and puja and other anushtanams, once in a way, the deity will throw you a few crumbs. It will either appear to you in your dream, or it will show, or it will show itself in a vision, or you will hear some music being played or something like that, so that your mind will get back to the mode of worship. So he is depicted like this, and on the right hand side, what you see is a skull cup. The skull cup is that of Brahma. It seems once in Kailash, the original Brahma used to have 5 heads. And he was strutting around in the area of Kailash like he owned the place, with a certain amount of arrogance. And the Devi was alarmed. When the Devi was alarmed, Shiva is supposed to have plucked one of those heads to reduce his ahankaram, the anavam, the ego. And half of that skull of the head that he plucked remained in his left hand. The only difference, Bhairava Murti is exactly the same. 4 hands. See, Kala, Kapala, Kalpanda, Krodana, Ugra, Unmata, Chanda, Sammara, Jnana, Swarnakarshana, Bhairava. There are 8 main Murtis, Bhairava Murtis, but the only difference is, if you look at Bhairava Murti's face, he is angry. Right? Krodam is there. Raktajwala Jadadaram. The flowing reddish illuminated hair. Reddish light is coming out. Raktajwala Jadadaram. Like flames are shooting from it. Suvimalam. He has no attributes. He is without anything. Raktanga Tejomayam. From his body, again the reddish effulgence is coming out. Raktanga Tejomayam. Tritva. Sula. He has a sulam. Pasa. Kapala. Damarukam. Logasya Rakshakaram. Sula Pasa Kapala Damarukam. That skull cup is missing in this picture of Bhairava. That skull cup must be there. So that is Kala Bhairava that we are talking about. That skull cup is there. And Sunavahanam, dog. The dog is equated to the 4 Vedas, because the 4 Vedas are there, the 4 legs are there. Each is supposed to represent a Veda. And with a dog, you can abuse it to the nth degree. And if you pat him, he will wag his tail. The Vedas are like that. Most of the people who supposedly are practicing the Vedas, they abuse the Vedas. They use the Vedas to make money and other things and create power for themselves. The moment you realize the value of the true value of the Vedas, it will be like a dog. It will follow you and help you and do whatever that you want. It will be your personal friend. Now, the difference between Bikshadana Murthy and Bhairava Murthy, can we go back to the Bikshadana Murthy, please? Is that Bikshadana Murthy is of pleasant countenance. On the left-hand side of Swami, you will find a lady. She is one of those Rishi Patnis who followed him, who started chasing him. They became crazy about him. The story is that in the area around Nageshwar in Gujarat, around that place there was a forest, an ancient forest, and a number of rishis and Rishi Patnis were there, and they were mechanically doing homam every day. Mechanically doing, following just a few tenets of what is laid down in the Vedas. And over a period of time, the homam became completely mechanical and they lost sight of God. They had no faith. They thought that by just doing the japam, by just doing the homam, they can achieve everything. So now what happened? Swami wanted to teach them a lesson and bring them back into the fold. And the women folk were supposed to be very chaste and very private, faithful to their husbands to the nth degree. And the men folk also, the rishis also, had the same thing. And he asks Mohini to, Mahavishnu to take the form of Mohini and go in front of the rishis where they were doing homam. And Mohini was so beautiful, the rishis lost their heads, all of them, and they started running after her. And Bikshadana, Swami, went into the ashramam, into the parnasalas. And you can see each of those Rishi Patnis started to follow him, not even knowing that their clothes were falling apart. And they come together, and the rishis become very angry with Swami. So what they do is they start to do abhichara homam. From the abhichara homam, first cobras came out, and they sent it to him to try and get him stung, and he took it and wore the snakes as ornaments, as a ring, as a kanganam, as a earrings and all that. Then they sent a wild elephant. An elephant that was so angry when it came, Swami placed his foot on the elephant's head and took the skin out. Mattam mada yanai uri potta manavalan. The Trikejiswara Padikam, this is the Yanai Uri. Yanai is elephant. Uri is the skin that was peeled from the elephant he wore. Manavala. Then they sent a tiger. That also he killed and took the skin and wore it across his waist. Like that, so many things were sent to him, and he used all of them as his ornaments. They sent hundreds and hundreds and thousands of soldiers to attack him. He made them his retinue. Those are the Shivaganas. Then they realized, the rishis realized that they had made a mistake, and they go and fall at his feet and apologize to him. Then he gives them grace. Again, this is the story of Bikshadana. And the Bikshadana pictures. Now, can we go to some of the examples of Bikshadana? This one especially. The difference between Bhairava and Bikshadana is that you see he is wearing a cobra as his clothing. That's all he wears. And on his feet, he has clogs. Bhairava doesn't have that. That's the difference. And his face is so pleasant. And the skull cup is there. In most of these temples, the skull cup, the festival around Bikshadana Murthy is done on the 8th day of Brahmotsav. Actually, in Chidambaram, on the 8th day, he is placed on a gold chariot and brought around. And all the businessmen in that town, or whoever who has come, they will come and offer money into that skull cup. The belief is that if you do that on that particular day, your business will thrive and your coffers will be filled. What it actually means is that you have to give Swami he has come as a beggar to get all your negative qualities. You take your negative qualities and offer them into that. And there is also a tradition that goes back to astrology. In your horoscope, Surya, the sun, is depicted as Pitru Graham, Pitru, father. Chandra is described as Matru Graham. Where the Chandra is located in your horoscope becomes your Rasi. And all the things that you can expect to have in your life will come from there. Now, you will see the Bikshadana is wearing anklets. Those anklets are the Agamas. And the Padukas that he is wearing are the Vedas in the Bikshadana. Now, this form is there in Tiruchenkatta and Chidambaram. Both of them have separate shrines for them. And the philosophy is that unless you give up all your negative qualities, even Swami cannot give you the true knowledge about himself. So, out of compassion, he takes this form and comes out and takes all the negative qualities from your hand and goes away. And it is said that when Swami plucked Brahma's head and the half of it stuck in his hand, he got involved with what is called Brahmahati Dosham. And Parvati is supposed to have offered whatever alms into that cup, and that left him. Okay. Now, there is another form. There are various yogas that are associated with Chandra. Chandra is very important, right? Chandrama manaso jataha saksho suryo ajayata. It is there in the Vedas also about that. And with Chandra, Amavasya Yogam, Paurnami Yoga, Gajakeshari Yoga, Sakata Yoga, Guru Chandra Yoga, Chandramangala Yoga, Chandradi Yoga, all these things are there given by Chandran or the moon, depending on which house he is in. And in relationship to the position of the sun, there is something that one of the yogas that he can give you, because if he is associated with Guru, then you are supposed to have Guru Chandra Yogam. When Guru Chandra Yoga comes to you, all the good things will happen to you. When Guru Chandra Yoga comes to you. Now there is also a particular yoga that comes to you where you have to beg. Now you see, in the case of the proper Brahmanas who take the Brahmopatesam, there is a state where they will go and beg their food when they are brahmacharis. This is to eliminate the notion of me, myself. That you are dependent on the community and you are dependent on the grace, and who will give you food? Usually it is the lady of the house who will come and give you food. Remember the story of Shankaracharya when he goes and asks for alms, and the poor lady comes and with tears in her eyes that she can't give anything more, she gives an amla, and he sings the Kanakadhara Stotram, and for one nalika there's gooseberries out made of gold falling in that place. So this notion of begging will be there if the sun and the moon are in particular places in a person's horoscope. Right? Questions? We'll stop here, 9 o'clock already. Maybe a couple of questions. While we are waiting for the questions, can we show some of the forms of Bikshadana, the various sculptures that are available? Yes, this is one. Look at this beautiful Bikshadana Murthy. See, the Trisulam is implied in there. And you see he is wearing padukas here. And what is around his waist, around his thighs is a cobra. That's all he's wearing. Next one, please. This is the Madurai Meenakshi Temple in that museum. This is another one. Okay, questions? You can ask her. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe just one question today.
Okay.
How did these various forms of Dakshina Murthy come about? Were they in visions of rishis?
Usually the murtis are in the visions of rishis. And in the Agamas, they are mentioned in the Agamas, as it says. And the Linga Puranam, one of the Puranas has it, the forms have it. And the Agamas, out of the 28 Agamas, some of them detail what these forms are. And they are sets and then subsets and subsets of those sets. Like that, things have become expanded. Basically, there may have been one form of Dakshinamurti, and then from there it developed.
Yeah, I think the parallel is probably to how mantras have rishis who first saw them. Probably.
Correct. Each of them, when they have a murti, there's always a mantra and a yantra and a technique, how to use the mantra also. So those would be there.
Yeah. We'll stop here with the question today. Yeah.
We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Ayya, for sharing more information about the different forms of the Dakshinamurti. We are excited to continue learning more about the various other forms of Shiva in the upcoming sessions. Just a reminder to everyone to access all content from prior sessions. Please visit the srividya.org/AYM-lectures. Thank you everyone for joining us for today's session. At this time, we will hand it over to Vyasana to begin our yoga session. We will see you all next session. Thank you.
Greetings and pranams to Ayya and all devotees of the Sri Vidya Temple and members of the Ashtanga Yoga. Spine plays a very important role in our health. Spine also plays a very important role in our spiritual practices. So whether we are going ahead with any of the yoga practices or whether we are for our day-to-day, it is very important that we ensure the spine is well taken care because as it is the central nervous system. So what is a beautiful indicator is that you go to a shrine, go to a temple, and if you can see it, ideally on the floor or step of the floor, and so the palms opened up or in Chin Mudra, and if you can be straight for Urunalihe, that is, if you can be there for about 24 minutes, the body doesn't shrink down. Sometimes you see, even when you work, we start straight and then the body slowly goes down like this. So that means the body is not trained enough. So in the yoga practices, it's very important that you maintain it, number one. Number two, if you ever have a long drive in your highway or for any other purpose, or if you sit on a specific position for long hours due to your work, then there is an impact in your spine. For that, you can do this breathing, which will help you tremendously. So generally it's called as the tiger breathing, Asana. So this practice can be done in a very comfortable manner. So to come into Vajrasana, take the distance like this. Elbow to the middle finger distance of the knee. And then you separate. So your hand is separated according to the distance of the palm, the distance of the knee, the distance of the foot is there. Look straight. In case if you have any pain or something, you can have a cushion. So you can use a cushion and make yourself comfortable. And then from here, you will inhale, look up at the ceiling, and then you will exhale out. Inhale up, exhale down. So when you do this practice, you will be able to feel a gentle stretch around this region. And in your spine region, you will be able to feel an arch moving. So you be like this, inhale, exhale down. You can see your middle spine. And then you can see. So you just observe this region moves up and down. Once you finish 12 rounds, be there for 12 counts. And then slowly be there up, look at the ceiling. And then be there for 12 counts, and then you can be relaxed in Shankasana the way you want. So this is one way of doing the same practice. In case if you feel that you're finding it difficult to sit on the floor, then you can do it. So just imagine this is your bed or this is your chair. You do the same practice. Keep your hands distant, keep your feet apart. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So if you're closer to the wall, if you feel tired, be relaxed. Then come forward. Inhale, exhale. So when you do this practice, you can see a lot of, not only on the spine, also in the lower part of the hip region. And then same way you will look up. And then you be in that position. So this tiger breathing or the Marjariyasana, breathing, helps tremendously to maintain, preserve the spine, your hip region, and also ensures that you have a very good flow of proper breathing. So try this regularly. So those who are doing on a bed or on a chair support, do around 27 times, look up for 27, then chin down for 27. And see how the body improvises. So thank you very much to all of you, and see you all in the next session. We'll complete the session with the mantra. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.